Well,
There it is.
oh, must have been an internet glitch.
We love them.
Yeah, don't we? Well, and you got some gray in your beard, so um, I go back to the very beginning of the internet. I got in, I got in, I joined LinkedIn as an example when there was less than 130 million people in the world on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Now, now there's a billion. A billion. It's hard to believe.
A billion's a big number.
It is a big number.
A billion's a very large number. And when you consider, how many people are there in the world?
Karen, how many people? Six billion?
Yeah. So what you're
Is it
talking
eight?
about is a statistical, I mean, let's assume that there are some duplicates, but you're still talking about well over, 15% of the entire population of the world. Every human, every child, every, a person who lives in a little village with mud huts and no electricity, all the people in the world. You're talking about 15% of that population is represented on LinkedIn somehow. That's a
Yeah,
just stunning.
it's staggering, isn't it? Well, that's why Microsoft bought them for $26 billion.
A bargain.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just crazy. And now what do you think LinkedIn is worth?
No idea. I don't keep track.
It's got to be billions, I would think, at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Current value of LinkedIn.
All right, we got
Sure
some
is. Yeah, 29.9 billion is the current valuation. Basically $30 billion.
$30 billion.
Yeah, it's a nice
Whoa.
number.
Hi, Blanca.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good. We were just, well, Dovid, why don't you tell her what we were just talking about?
We were sort of marveling at the growth of the internet and the things that we rely on, and particularly speaking of, as we've heard Bob say when he got on LinkedIn before, but we were talking about how much it's grown and marveling at the fact that if we were to pretend that every LinkedIn subscriber was just one person and all of them were unique, um, 1 out of 6 people on Earth is a LinkedIn subscriber right now, which is kind of almost impossible to wrap your mind around. And the more one thinks about it, the harder it is to imagine, being that there is such a large population on Earth that still doesn't have electricity, let alone computers and internet.
Yeah,
Um, and what percentage of the world's population is under 10 years old? You know, it's got to be a quarter. You know, it's a pretty shocking number. Anyway,
the world is connected through the web
yeah, we are more connected than we know, I am sure.
than we've ever been, yes.
And the amount of data mining that's being done and
Oh
the
my
ability
God.
to understand um, what all that data is being used for, all the different ways that it's being used, and what it could be used for is just beyond the imagination of an individual, I would imagine.
Yeah, I got my start when a 300 megabyte hard drive was the size of a washing machine.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, my first experience programming, besides the Commodore PETs at my high school, which I did basically just used to do graphics, was in a research lab at Rockefeller University, where we had a big digital equipment company machine, and the operating system was on one 7.5-inch floppy, and the data was on another 7.5-inch floppy, and you had to insert them both in order to do anything. And I was tasked with debugging. I knew nothing about programming, but all I was looking for was things like there's a semicolon instead of a colon, or the same thing was typed twice. And that I could recognize, and I could actually go debug programs.
Changed world. And
Think
now what we used to have on, a size of a washing machine is a thumbnail now, and terabytes of information.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Blanca, you were trying to say something?
data cleaning, just like that's so tedious and only certain people are able to do that. I would have been like, oh, there's nothing wrong, give up. Yeah, it's
Alicia, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Oh, okay. Just checking in.
Oh, yeah.
So usually what I do is 5 minutes after the hour, uh, my networking groups, there's probably some more people that'll join in. This used to be a much bigger group, and we kind of fractionalized it and did some other things with it. But I guess what I'll do is I'll start out. My name is Bob Friedenthal. I'm the owner of mycity.com. And right next to me is with a picture of my city, is the head of my social media. His name is Mehedi. And so I've been managing social media accounts for a lot of years, like LinkedIn, probably over 20 years plus. I don't even remember at this point how many years I've been working on it, but you know, why you don't have to break something that's you can make work, right?
Right.
So do us a favor, everybody, and put your contact information into the chat room and tell us how you heard from this. So David, why don't you go next?
Okay. Um, so I've been a consultant and coach since the 1990s, when people didn't know what a business coach was. There wasn't such a term. I've built an organization called Co-Axis Leadership, and what we focus on is freedom. We start with actually focusing on freeing the founder of a company, and then freeing up the people who've built the business so that they can keep building, to stop being torn away from what they do best, pulled into the minutia of day-to-day operations. We want to free the people who are great at things that are important to the business so that they can do what they do best throughout the organization. We want to free the business from operational issues so that it works like a clock. By applying fractional thought leadership to every key area of the business, we found that most companies can double or more their current growth rate quickly, then solidify and do it again, creating a perfect balance between solidity and growth. This is business freedom, and this is what we do. If you give me a company with a product, a market, and a team, we'll set them free.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And make sure you put your contact information into the chat room,
I will most certainly do that.
inclusive of phone numbers. But by the way, how did you find us?
LinkedIn. I don't know how I found you on LinkedIn, but you popped up on LinkedIn. I clicked something, and the next thing I knew, I was on your calls.
Oh, okay. Means that we probably reached out to join you, have you join me on LinkedIn, and then it just how long have you been coming to these meetings?
Just 3 weeks.
3 weeks? That's it? Okay.
Yep.
Well, we have some pretty exciting things to announce. So, thank you for your information. Make sure you put the information into the chat room. Okay. Blanca.
David, did you get connected with my friend Angel from Palabra Media?
No.
Okay. I think one of your, because we talked a little bit last week and your friend, the lender, called me.
Yes.
So
Yes, Cindy.
super nice. Yeah.
Yeah, he said he
Also,
had a very pleasant conversation with you. He thought you sounded like a, highly competent professional, and he thought there were ways that he might be able to help you as time went on, and it might be a good relationship.
nice. Yeah, I did speak with him, impressed with him. And then I will remind Angel because he does the Google ads, and I think that would help some of your clients. So
Yeah, there's
for me,
actually someone in particular I'm thinking about it for right now. And ironically, I had asked Bob this past week who he knew who was strong in Google Ads specifically. So perfect to get that contact. Thank you.
yeah, I'll make the connection again. So I am a real estate agent here in the Arizona East Valley area, and I also run a remodeling company. So we do everything from kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, and little honeydew lists. So if you guys ever need anything like that, you can reach out to me. But happy to connect here with Bob and the group. I think it's a little bit smaller than the California one, but we're still young.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and we've done some transitions too, but I do have some pretty exciting announcements that hopefully my programmers will complete in a few hours. So anyway, well, great. So you're out of Phoenix. Did you put your information into the chat? Yeah, it looks like.
I'll put it in there.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Perfect. Because, one of the things that I talk about all the time is referrals. That something like 60% of most people get their new business based on a referral. So I actually have some software that I think you'll all very much enjoy, which I'll be at least mentioning. It's we're updating it right now. So um yeah, it's cool stuff. Okay. Alicia, thank you. Is you put all your information in the chat or not?
Yes, I did. I put my LinkedIn, which is mostly where that's most active for me. And then
Okay,
and then what I do.
beautiful.
So yeah.
Okay, love it. Alicia, why don't you tell us who you are, what you do?
All right. So I'm Alicia. I run two companies, Morningstar Business Solutions and Morningstar Bookkeeping. So first and foremost, I am a bookkeeper. It's the thing that I love the most. But I also run, and within the bookkeeping, I specifically I'm based in Anthem, Arizona, but I work with companies throughout the US. And I specifically work with service-based businesses, smaller businesses with I don't know how to define that really. Like we're looking under usually the businesses I work with are under six figures. Um,
Hmm.
and they're just kind of getting started. And I also work on automations for those small businesses through my other business. So I focus mainly on small businesses that are coming in. They need a CRM put in, project management, and they just don't know where to go with all of that. So what that ends up looking like is I'll set up something like ClickUp or Dubsado, and I will set up their leads. I'll set up automations so that it sends them emails and reminders, sets all their booking things so that they're not spending hours and hours and hours on end sending email reminders or looking for client paperwork. The one I love Dubsado. It's kind of where most of my business goes to because it allows you to put everything in a portal for your clients. So I work a lot on building out Dubsado for my clients so that when their customers and clients need copies of contracts or copies of anything, it's all in one spot that they can just log in and look at it. So basically, my whole goal in business is to make life easier on small business owners. I watched my dad drowning in his business and spending 100 hours a week working when he wasn't getting any time with us as kids. So I try to make that a little bit easier on other parents.
Very nice.
Alicia, have you ever worked with Pipe Drive?
I have limited experience with Pipe Drive. I've kind of been in it a little bit, but I haven't done a whole lot with it just because most of my clients don't have any type of big sales. They're just service based, so they're like photographers or plumbing stuff like that. And most of them haven't had an interest in going that route. But I was actually just on there looking at it this morning for a live that I did because I was like, oh, I feel like this has use for people. I just don't know how to use it for them yet.
Um, yeah, if that's a domain you want to occupy, there's something for a couple things for us to talk about.
Okay, awesome.
And you said you're also a bookkeeper as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I do small business bookkeeping. And my my whole thing with bookkeeping is I go a little bit further than other bookkeepers do. So I see a lot of bookkeepers, they're out there and they're like, yeah, I do the bookkeeping and then I send the reports once a month and that's kind of all they do. Um, I kick it up a notch and I send out more than just your basic reports and I'm looking at other things and I have a conversation with my clients, a minimum of once a month. Because I am seeing within small businesses people losing money on one, stupid expenditures, just stupid things that they don't even realize they're doing, or two, because they have money coming out that people are using that they don't know about. And it's amazing to me how much fraud goes on. And I'm like, how are other bookkeepers not catching on to this? Like,
Hmm.
why are we not protecting our clients more? You know? So I I spend a little bit more time talking to my clients um, and focusing on getting them the documents that they need and teaching them how to read those documents. I'm really shocked, kind of appalled at how many business owners don't know how to read their bookkeeping documents. They get those reports and they're like, oh, okay, thanks. I'm like, you don't have an idea of what's happening here, do you?
Kind of
So
amazing, isn't it?
it's really surprising. I'm always shocked at that when I get especially the new startups. They're like, oh, what do you mean I need more than just my income? But my income report and my cash flow don't match. And I'm like, right, you have no cash. I don't care how much income you're making, you have no cash because you're spending it all. But a lot of them don't realize that. It's something that I've noticed in the past year or two is happening more and more.
So true. We've got an interesting world with artificial intelligence jumping in. And I have a story that I always tell. Any of you remember who Mark Spitz is?
You don't think so?
He was the first Michael Phelps.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
right. That's right. So my nephew, my brother-in-law is absolutely best friends with Mark and Susie, the so what my my nephew calls me up and says, um, I got to show you this amazing video by Mark Spitz. And so I watched it. This is going back a couple of years. And I watched it and I called him back afterwards. So that was an amazing interview of Mark. And my nephew said that was all done with AI. Kind of crazy, isn't it? So that's the world we're in now, where you can impersonate and harvest information of other people based on hacking. and hacking, especially in the AI world, is huge. It's
Yes.
growing rapidly as well. So, just a heads up. Anyways, Stephen, okay, 1 second. So what I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes is
I'm back. Sorry, Bob.
oh, okay. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
You don't remember me, do you?
Oh yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
But they don't.
Well, they don't know me, but so Bob, I used to live in LA, and so Bob, I used to hang out with Bob and Encino years back, uh, and then I saw Kirk Jaffe sent out. I don't know. I thought I heard about this meeting through Kirk Jaffe, right? Because I think he was in that group back in those days too. Anyway, I moved to Scottsdale about 2.5 years ago, um, and yeah, Bob and I kind of crossed paths over the last 15 or 20 years. Anyway, I'm here in Scottsdale. Most of my business is still in California, but I'm looking to expand here uh in Arizona. I'm a commercial real estate appraiser. Um, and so I get hired by attorneys to do estate work. I don't do any bank work anymore, but I do estate planning work. So somebody who dies needs a date of death of appraisal for commercial property. I'll take referrals for residential, but I'll just pass those on to my contacts here who do residential. I don't really know anything about the residential. I don't have the tools for that, but I do have the tools for commercial. The other thing I do is I'm also an investor. I'm looking for mobile home parks and self-storage properties. So kind of that's my active thing right now. Those are the two active things. So um, I've been appraising for over 10 years, and I have expertise in also affordable housing and tax credit financing, um, which is big in LA and becoming bigger here in Arizona because of the homeless population. So I'm starting to get more active in that community here in Arizona. But most of my clients in LA, because that's where I praise. I don't necessarily have to be in the same city. Um, Much happier out of California than in California. So um, but I can get back, so it's not an issue if I have to meet people in other states.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. So, by the way, so what made you move to Scottsdale?
California.
So you picked a city. It's like this.
Well, no, I went to college here, and I've had relationships here for 40 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
so um, yeah, I mean, I don't know where else I'd have moved. I didn't really know very many people. I mean, I could have moved back east, I guess, but I don't know how you can live back east after you've lived in California. So yeah, just the place just I was gonna yeah, I was not good for my mental health being there anymore.
Where are you originally from?
The Bronx, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Long Island, New Jersey.
And the rest of you, it's always interesting to hear some of your personal history. What made you move to, most of you are in Arizona. So, what made you move to where you are now? I think that's a heck of a good question.
So I actually came here. My ex-husband is an IRS auditor, and so that's kind of how we ended up here. Um, I am from Temecula, California. That's where I was raised. It's where my mom still lives. I would give my right arm to move back. So, well, maybe not to Temecula, back to like San Diego, but but it's Arizona's a different world. It is. So I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I would move back to California in a heartbeat if I
Oh,
could.
I'm sorry about that.
With San Diego or like San Francisco up by my dad. I have very specific areas. But yeah.
Uh, Yeah, give it. Who else is not, David, where are you originally from?
Oh, I was born in Manhattan. Spent a lot of my time in and around New York City. Um, but we moved out here. We had I had I had gotten out of the city. We had a 250-year-old farmhouse in Old Chatham, New York, on
Oh,
35
wow.
acres of land. And as far as I was concerned, I was in the perfect place. Um, and my wife doesn't like the cold very much. And being as far from Jewish community as we were, didn't make an awful lot of sense when we started having kids. So I have a 1 year old and a 4 year old who are, um, going to school and doing all of those things. And so we didn't want to go back to the city. We had been living in Crown Heights before we moved upstate. I had had the house for a long time. And we moved up there at the beginning of COVID because we decided to get out of Crown Heights. Literally, we made the decision and left the day that people started getting sick, at a week before or a few days before people started getting diagnosed. But the day that people started getting sick was the day we left, which was the day after it was Purim um, in 2020. And we went because my wife was pregnant and it didn't seem to make sense. So we moved upstate to the house upstate. We spent a year there, and it was, to me, bliss, to her, isolated. And we looked at the map, didn't want to go back to New York City. And here's where we ended up. And
Fantastic.
yes, I would in a minute move back to my farmhouse on land if we hadn't sold it to buy a house here. But I'm also really happy with being here. It's not like I have regrets. It's just, give me a wood pile and a wood stove and an axe and work to do, and I'm a very happy man.
Very nice. Who wants to go next?
I think it's just me now, unless you want to go, Bob. But I was born in Guanajuato, Mexico. We moved to the United States when I was 7 years old, and then have lived here in Arizona for about, I don't even know, since I was 10, so long time. So to me, this is home. I don't really feel like Mexico. I would not go back. I would visit my grandma and my family there, but I would not live there. Um, but yeah, I think this is home for me. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. But then again, I've only lived in California, and from what I remember, it was good, but I was only 7 years old, so I can't really say how it is when you're a working adult.
Yeah. 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 It's great stuff. Okay. Alicia, why don't you tell us about some of your history?
Oh, I went. I was in Temecula, California.
Oh, right.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And Stephen, you went to give us enough information about who you are. Um, so I, my family can go back, uh, what is it? 5 or 6 generations in the United States. My dad's side of the family immigrated from Germany, and they came around the Horn on a sailing ship and settled in Shreveport, Louisiana. Then they ended up in Sacramento. So I have a pocket watch that was mined out of there. Any of you know anything about Sutter's Fort?
Yeah.
Gold Rush.
Yeah.
So I have a pocket watch that was mined out of Sutter's Fort, and it's engraved in the inside. It says the gold in this watch was mined by grandpa so-and-so in the 50s, in other words, 1850s. And I took that watch in, by the way, to be appraised about 50 years ago. And I thought, oh, maybe this watch is worth $3,000. Well, 50 years ago, they appraised it at $30,000. Now, what do you think that watch is worth? Three or four hundred
Wow,
thousand?
nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very nice.
Yep, that's going to be passed on to one of my kids.
What did you say it was worth?
Well, now it's probably worth three to 400,000.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. Just and it's all part of history. Sutter's Fort with the gold rush and all that stuff. So my great whatever it was had a general store. And he just played around at doing a little bit of gold mining. And then he had the pocket watch made. So it's pretty cool stuff, right? Anybody go back generations in the United States?
I think no, I think my grandfathers were born in Manhattan. My grandmothers weren't. Grandfathers were born in Manhattan. I think I traced my grandfather on my mother's side back to the 1830s.
Really?
Yeah, their name was Blank. And I traced them back a blank. This was years ago to the 1830s in New York.
Interesting.
And then my grandfather was born in Manhattan in the 1890s. But that's it. But
Value your ancestry. That's all I got to tell you. Because as each generation goes by, it changes, but you still want to have who you are, right? That's what your personal identity is. Who are you? So now that we're kind of into that subject, in a few hours, we're updating a thing on mycity.com. It's mycity.com, mycity.com/questionnaire. And it asks 5 questions in that questionnaire. One is, do you want to grow your business? 2, are you willing to network? 3, are you willing to give referrals? 4 is, what's your expertise in the field? And who would you recommend? And I review this every year. 60% of most people get their new business based on referrals. How many of you can say that? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
this year has been good for that. So I'll tell you, I've been on LinkedIn forever. And I know, I try to prospect using it, and it's, everybody's got different systems, and even LinkedIn has a system. But earlier this year, I got a call out of nowhere. I mean, it happens once a year, a little bit of business every now and then. But this year, I got a call from somebody that I actually hired, and I had my best financial year from that referral ever. It's like 20 years of LinkedIn, and this year, like, actually, I'm involved in 2 projects right now that have turned into, like, I'm talking significant income. And they called me.
Until this year, over the years, I would say that almost 100% of my business has been referrals. Fully 60% is direct client referrals. And the balance has come from, I've been asked to train a lot of coaches over the years, and I've done that with a lot of people. I've trained probably a dozen people who currently have significant coaching and consulting practices all over the world. India, the UAE, throughout Europe, et cetera. And a large percentage of my business has come from referrals for them. They take a niche and they send things over to me that aren't. But since COVID, a lot of that business hasn't happened. A lot of the business from my old referrals. So this is the first time I've actually done any real marketing effort.
That's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, things are changing. I'm probably on mute. No, I'm not on mute. Things are changing as we speak, right?
No
And if
doubt.
you don't keep up with it, you're going to get left in the dust. Now, how many people here believe that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
And what about AI?
I like a mix of referrals, and it's real estate and it's homes. So the homes that come in that need remodeling, that are word of mouth, are obviously going to transact a lot quicker. Any lead that we kind of have paid money for, they take time, and it's like you're going to get a lot of low hanging fruit, like stuff that you're going to really need to work for. But the referrals are golden.
Yes. They say that most people close their business through a referral as a result of a referral having been given, because people automatically have trust. And then the other thing I talk about is, I do videos with people, and I do an interview. And one of the things I always bring up is that the vast majority of people will look at your facial expressions and your body language to render an opinion as to whether they're going to like you or not. You like that or not?
That's
Yeah, that
I
very
makes
think
sense.
it is.
Yeah,
It's like that
absolutely.
friendly. If you look friendly enough, you're a trusted, automatically people trust you.
well,
Yeah.
it's in communications, it's something like 70 or 80% of our communication is actually not the words we're saying, it's body language and tone. And so people forget that part of communicating. And so I'm always one of those, like, always get on a call if you can, either a call or a video, because if you're doing it through email, you can't judge anything off of that.
Yeah, but you know what I'm also hearing? People are using email a lot more than they used to. So
Yes.
everything's changing, and I think a lot of this was because of COVID and people having to change how they do things. But all this stuff is having an impact on how we venture forward. And I think that's the golden rule is keep your eyes open. Um, and then the other thing I talk about with my clients, and I'm sure you have the same thing with your clients, is communication is 9/10 of the law. What I typically find is that, um, I've been a LinkedIn consultant forever, and having the right keywords in your profile is an essential piece. And there's, a couple of people in there that in this group that could use a little bit of help on their LinkedIn profile. I'm more than glad to give you advice. In fact, one of these days, I think I'll probably do another training session on how to utilize what to do on LinkedIn. And we could use somebody as a guinea pig to help make the recommended changes that you want to make. It's when you're active on your LinkedIn pays attention to that. And that has a huge bearing on how they move you up the ladder or down the ladder in the search. Okay. People that are more active on LinkedIn get pushed to the top. Are any of you using AI? I asked that. I don't.
I use it. I use it to I had these giant reports I had to write, and there was one concept that I had to learn, and I used AI to write most of my report.
Interesting. Well,
And I did some financial and some graphs. I graphs on real estate stats, and it gave me graphs. I couldn't have. There's no way I could have done that report without AI. There's no way.
amazing. Which AI are you using? ChatGPT?
Well, I went through both of them. I found I went through. There's a bunch of them, but I found one that I really like called Clee. Clee.ai, CLEE.ai. And I liked it because it put it in bullet point format for me, and I didn't have to really edit it much. Um, that worked really, really well. I spent part of my day reading up on AI because I think that there's something there for that, especially they're incorporating it into Word, and they're also incorporating AI into Excel. And I just think that I could expand my appraisal business and do some more complex things if I understood how it worked with Excel better, because I'm not really good at creating the model. I'm good at using the model and analyzing it, but I'm not good at creating a model, financial model using it. So I usually get that from somebody else. But it'd be kind of cool if AI, like in Excel, if you could just say, I'm underwriting an apartment building. I'm underwriting an apartment building. There's 35 units, and just tell it, and then have AI Excel just tell it. You just tell what you want. I mean, you could do it with images. You can create an image. So I
So
do that sometimes.
have you found a program that will allow you to, for example, lay out the Excel sheet with
I
all the
have
columns
not.
and such?
I
Because
have
that, boy,
not.
would that be wonderful.
Wouldn't that be
I
cool, right, Dovid? Like, you're working with high-end corporate people, right? Like, if you could find, I just haven't. I mean, it's gotta be there. You know what I mean? Now that I talked about it, and it'll probably pop up in my email box or on Facebook somewhere. Um, but yeah, that would be kind of cool. Like, I'm underwriting a 35 unit apartment building. It's got, 1 and 2 bedrooms, and then all of a sudden it just spits out a financial model that that and that's just simple. That's a simple example.
I've used it for designing, presentations, reports
Right,
on.
that's right. Yeah.
So I give, I need to frame the following data and I've used just simple chat GPT.
Right.
I need to frame the following data as a presentation. I want to prioritize this, and this. Please make a 7-page report.
Yeah, yeah. You
And
can you
and
can
I
do
get
that.
this thing and I look at it and I have to not only review it myself, but then have someone else review it because I have found things in there that were just abhorrent.
oh
But
yeah.
the structure shows up and it gives me a lot to work with. And that's the stuff that stops me. When I start
Yeah.
writing, I just go, one of the things I've learned about myself is there's a part of my brain that can distract me. So I need to give it a distraction. So I could put on a movie that I've already seen and I'll sit down and I'll start writing and X number of hours later, I'll look up the thing is done and the movie's been over for 4 hours and I never watched a minute of it. But that part of my brain that goes has been occupied. And the hard part for me is the structure, and the
Right.
chat GPT stuff will handle that completely.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing, is like, how do you get started? Like this year I took on 2 or 3 jobs that I almost didn't take on because I like knew nothing about the topic or how to solve the problem. And I said yes, really, before I had any idea what I was doing. Like, I literally said yes. And
You
it
jumped
took,
in and then you learned how to swim.
I just said yes, and there was the technical aspects of what I was trying to understand and how to solve it. And I hired an economist to help me at ASU. I was like, how do I solve this problem? Okay, I have no idea. And like 2 phone calls later, I had 2 people that had a model for what I needed. And then I just had to write the report around it based on all of the topics that came up in the spreadsheets and what the model was. And they gave me a lot of stuff. And then I looked at their stuff, and then I went into AI and I went, okay, explain this to me. And then I grabbed paragraphs. And the next thing you know, I turned this report in and they're like, you're a genius. Right. And I'm like, huh? I guess. I don't know. But I guess
Yep.
so that's really propelled me to like wow, how come I didn't figure this how to solve these problems? How come I didn't use that methodology 40 years ago? Right? So it gives you something to go to that's because you can't keep calling people all the time, right?
And that's what I
So
used to do. I mean,
well,
that's how so much of my business
yeah,
has been
that's what you
built
do.
on exactly what you're talking about. You say yes, and then you figure it out, and you build a team of people you can count on who can also count on you, so you don't feel like you're wasting their time when you call
Right.
them.
And then you pay them. And then all of a sudden you go, well, geez, that wasn't really that hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been that whole thing this year has just been really amazing.
It's a roadmap, isn't it? Isn't that what you're seeing with all this?
Well, I just, now I'm like working on something else that I'm going, well, geez, if I did that, I could do this. Right. And it was all because one out of desperation, because I needed something else to do because I was some relationship was coming apart business wise. And I went, okay, he doesn't want to work on this with me. I'll figure it out myself. And it was like, whoa, send me another one of those. And then another one came out of thin air, like, a few weeks ago. It's like, okay, send me another one of those things. So, um, yeah, it's like AI, faith, and taking
Yeah.
a risk.
Yeah.
It's really been fascinating 12 months.
And the big thing for me has been formatting and structuring.
Right. Formatting, structuring, right? Like, how do you start? Like, how
Yeah.
do you start with something, right?
And then, I can go back and change every single word, but it's in a structure. Unfortunately, the ChatGPT does not write in the formatting structure of Word. So I have to then go and
Yep.
delete all the spaces and insert
Well,
bullet point sets and
use,
numbering and all that other stuff.
uh,
But that's not only is that a minuscule job, that's also something that once I understand what I'm doing, I can give to someone. I can give to a virtual assistant. I don't need to be doing that. But for
right.
the
So
moment,
I just put it in Clee AI, puts
yep.
it in bullet points. The only thing I don't like about it is every sentence, practically every sentence, it cites another website that it got the information from.
Oh,
So,
well, at least it
which
cites it though.
it cites it, right? But you can't put that in the report. So you can't put, so I edit that
Yeah.
out. I figured out how to unhighlight all the links and then delete the names, right? And then all of a sudden you've got everything in bullet point format and it writes like like I read it and I go, well, geez, I would write like that. So I'm going to use it.
I have done experiments with, I'll provide an outline and I'll ask for a report, and then I'll ask for it to be written like you're talking to the smartest person in the world, written like
Yep.
you're talking to a fifth grader, written using no more than 3-syllable words, written, and I give it all these different directives and end up grabbing pieces from the other ones and then editing it so it sounds like me. You know, I don't believe in writing things. I was taught by a colleague of mine, never use a $5 word if a 5-cent word will suffice.
Right, right.
So I write the way I think, And then I go through and I simplify and simplify and simplify.
I keep
And
getting these emails from somebody that says, I should forward it to you. The guy's name is, the hell's his name? What's the guy's name? Give me a second. He's trying to market setting up an AI consulting practice. So I've been kind of reading through his things. Because this stuff, like people just don't know,
yeah,
right? Trying to find his name, but he's got a whole system on setting up I started deleting them because I got so many of them, but everybody's trying to
very
cite.
important thing in marketing and communications is don't over communicate, because as soon as you do, people get in the habit of deleting your name, and then
Well,
you've
it's just too
shifted
much.
from being an
It's just
asset
too
to being
much.
a
Yeah,
problem.
it's just too much information.
Yeah.
I don't know. Put your email contact in the
It is.
chat
It's one of
there.
it's like the third one in our list.
Oh, it is? Okay, hold
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
Well, it it doesn't have it has your LinkedIn, but it doesn't have, oh, there it is. I see
no, it
it.
is. It's all together. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me ask this. Are you people getting value out of this meeting? I'd love to hear feedback.
I mean, I am, and I'm also always for a good networking group and meeting people because I have my list of people that if somebody asks me a question I can't handle, I sure as hell better know how to get them someone so they'll come back to me,
Particularly with what you do, Alicia. I mean, you're a very
right?
important business resource for small businesses that don't have access to that kind of resource.
Yes, I really like to have answers for people. So if someone asks me for a referral, I like to be able to say, hey, yes, I have somebody and I've actually spoken to them. This is just not someone I found on the internet. It's someone I've spoken to or heard from.
Right.
Interesting
Yeah,
stuff.
how do we get other people in the group? Because I would like for it to be a little bit bigger. I mean, I like the small ones, but I've already talked to David and tried to refer him someone, so I don't think just, one-on-one.
They reached out to me during this call. I haven't responded yet, though.
Good. He's a great guy. But I was going to tell you, Bob, I tried to do your questionnaire at the very bottom where it says for the details,
Yeah,
that
it's
is not working.
broken. Yeah. Yeah, they're my programmers are actually working on that right now. They should have it fixed in the next few hours, but it's look, since most people get business from referrals, if you can give a referral, if you can announce the questions that we asked, one, do you want to grow your business? Two, are you willing to network? Three, are you willing to give referrals? Four is what's your expertise in your field? And five is, would you recommend them? And those pieces alone, that's gold. That is absolute gold. If you can help people, people are familiar with BNI, right? Anybody not familiar with BNI?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So Dr. Ivan Meisner started BNI 35, 40 years ago. And he had one motto that he's had for all these years called giver's gain. His psychologist was my client, and that's how I found out about BNI. And now there's something like 200 to 300 million members in BNI. It's very regimented. If you don't show up, they kick you out of the group, that kind of routine. You're required to give referrals, required, not asked to give referrals. You are required to create introductions. So all these tools really help people along. So what I'm doing right now and should be launching is that questionnaire is all part of that first piece of how to grow your business. And if you can automate some of it then you're in great shape, aren't you? But it's only automation of what you're doing in this. And then whether you can refer people to the tool is a whole nother story. So I'm incredibly excited about this launching in a few hours. So that'll get us there. Anyway, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Anybody have any words of advice? Anybody
Yeah,
have?
I just did a search on Google Dovid for AI Excel sheet generator, and I came up with some stuff. It does formula generation.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, that's key.
um, uh, generate spreadsheet formulas in a snap. So I don't know if it's gotten to the point where you could just tell it and it'll generate a whole model for you yet, but it's probably worth.
Where we're going. It's where we're going. You should not, you shouldn't have to spend as much time doing that as you used to.
So anyway, just
Well, here's another generalized question. How much do you need or want to grow your business? You can put that in the chat. You can do wherever you want, or you can just blurt it out. I think blurting it out would be good because it's telling people right here whether we have a really powerful group.
I'd be open to, yeah, I mean, what I find, just not to say anything negative, but I find that like when you go to BNI, everybody's just too small. They're not my target market. You know what I mean? I find that these local groups, they're helpful and educational, but I'm probably not going to give a referral to somebody who's going to fix air conditionings, or who's a photographer who wants to expand their bit. They're just very small businesses, or
Right.
the massage therapist that is trying to get more business. That's what I find. That's the type of business that come to those BNI meetings. So, and they go, well, we want a commercial real estate guy, and I go, and it's like, it's a therapist that needs a 100 square foot space that all she's got to do is get on the phone and figure that out herself, right? So that's my challenge with some of the local groups.
You're right. You're so right about that. And BNI has kind of got tunnel vision, you know. They don't think outside of to the larger market, so to speak. So that becomes a huge impact on whether or not you want to be a participant in BNI stuff.
Yeah, I decided I opted out because it wasn't, I liked everybody but
I don't
Yeah,
need more people to like in my life.
well, you
I've got
always
plenty of
need.
people to like, plenty of people who I care about, who I feel responsible, to and for. I'm not going to networking for friends. I
Yeah,
want I want resources, relationships, referrals.
yeah,
And all of those have equal value because I could meet someone here who becomes a key part of one of my projects in the future, or might be a resource. As a matter of fact, Steve, I've got a bunch of questions for you that probably don't pertain to anything we would ever do together, but will help me with a project. And I
yeah,
will ask you
absolutely.
for about 5 to 10 minutes of your time
Yeah,
to talk about this so I understand something for one of my clients.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
and when I look at growth, I have a team of people who I work with. I'm always interested in expanding the team, and by expanding the team, that means we expand capacity. So I could expand the size of my business tenfold without a problem, as long as I do it at a pace that's supported by the resources around me. And for the most part, I have the resources right now.
And I
That's
am going to say, don't underestimate the little business owner because it's not really just about them and what you can give them, but like I have some commercial clients that I could send over, but like I need to get to know you before I do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So the
absolutely. Yeah,
network
no,
stuff definitely helps to kind of get to know your personality and stuff. So it's not like you're not just going there to waste the time and like, oh, I didn't get out of it. Like we do want to get to know you so that we can feel comfortable sending over, those referrals. And it's not just about like, I'm going to send you someone. I could recommend someone like I did with um
Yeah.
David that I would think would help his business. And it's not necessarily somebody that you're going to have a real direct transaction with, but that can help build up your business too.
yeah, no, I get it. I didn't mean to sound, I guess I came across as I wasn't directing you because I see that you're a real estate agent and I network with real estate agents all the time for commercial work. So and besides, I have no personality, so you just
And
gonna
it's and it's totally fine. I like all the personalities.
Interesting stuff.
All right. I think it's that time.
Yeah, it's
it
that
is.
time. I'd love just real quickly, I'd love to hear and just feed it back to us how much you want or need to grow your business. Blurt it out.
Huge, huge.
Huge? Okay.
100, yeah.
Oh no,
100%.
huge. I want to turn my small businesses to an agency.
You want to do what now? Say that again.
I want to make my small business into an agency. So I'm doing
Inter-
less of the work and everybody else is doing it.
It makes sense, Alicia. It's a good model for
Yeah.
that.
It's a totally good model for that. Because I mean, I think you said you do bookkeeping, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, have other people do it if you want to direct them, right? Do you really want to sit how many hours a day can you sit behind your computer and do that?
Right. Like I would much rather take on like a fractional CFO role in my own business and handle the bigger stuff and then let the bookkeeping by people that are new to the industry handle the bookkeeping.
Yeah.
So
And
so so I have a friend that's done that in the cannabis industry. He's an expert in that world, and he he hires people to do the work because I mean, he does the tax stuff, but the bookkeeping part of it, he hires people to do that understand that business. So she left, she lost her, she dropped off.
Yeah, the interesting
you just mentioned cannabis and she was gone.
part.
She probably had to get something to
That
smoke.
was the catalyst.
She had to smoke. She heard it and she got excited and she had to run to the drawer and get something.
But the key to this is, in a group, I mean, what I heard from this group is everybody wants to grow exponentially, right?
Of course.
The only way that's going to happen is if you have teamwork. So, and then the only other question you ask is whether or not you have a staff that works for you that can do that work. And that gets rather interesting. That's why I've been a LinkedIn consultant. I've got a team of people that work for me, and we're expert on it, and we're now making some significant changes so we can stay on top of this. And that's what I'm hearing from everybody. Everybody wants to grow exponentially. I don't know whether it's a result of uh, COVID, coming out of COVID, but I think a lot of people had to re-energize their businesses, right?
Certainly. Although, I was in a different place, years ago, 10 years ago. Um, I was very well compensated, a couple of engagements. I worked with 6, 8 clients, made a certain amount of money, worked a certain number of hours, had 2 kids in college. It was handled. I was good, wasn't worried about a thing. This is a different time in my life and a different level of interest. And I spent too much time watching other people build businesses that grow exponentially to not be invested in doing that for myself at this point. You know,
Well, you and I should talk. I'll
All
tell you
right.
that much.
Look forward to it.
I think we have some real opportunity here. Just got to go do it.
Excellent. All right, all. I got to get ready for my next.
All right, see
Thank
ya.
you.
Amen.
Beautiful day.
You too. Take care.